Well, good afternoon, U.S. history. It is, what is it? Thursday, May 7th. Siete de Mayo. So May 7th today, guys, we're going to be looking at Unit 5, the 1990s to today. We're going to go through this Kahoot review. Hopefully you'll find it helpful when you complete the Unit 5 quote unquote summative assessment that's on the Canvas calendar for tomorrow. This is going to put an end to Unit 5, which will put an end to our new content that we'll be looking at. And then you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Fleet, what are we doing over the next 2 weeks? Well, I'll introduce a project on Monday and Tuesday that will kind of explain a little bit more. Typically, had this been face-to-face, next week would be our last week in class. And then we would kind of be going into finals week and then having a cumulative final over everything from 1950 to today. That will not be the case. So if you're just tuning in here, obviously we will not be having a traditional final as normal, but I would ask that you take some time tomorrow to complete Unit 5, 1990s to today. It is multiple choice only. So without further ado, we're going to join this Kahoot. Forgot this was the Diggable Planets. All right, Owen, can you see this first question?
Yeah.
Perfect. Turn this down. So which trade agreement brought together nations bordering the Pacific Rim? Let's take a second. We can pick an answer. All right, so that's going to be APEC, which is the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation. So this would be one of those three trade agreements that we talked about that looked at, APEC, the EU, and NAFTA. They're all geographically based, but the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation, those are nations along the Pacific Rim.
I forgot about that.
Second question, in the 2000 election, Al Gore won what? A pivotal Supreme Court case, the state of Florida, a majority of electoral votes, or the popular vote? Excellent. So the correct answer would be the popular vote. Okay, so remember the 2000 election between Al Gore and George W. Bush. It went to the Supreme Court. There was Bush v. Gore. Bush won that victory in the Supreme Court. Bush won the state of Florida, hence the entire point of the Bush v. Gore decision. And a majority of electoral votes, he did not win that. However, Al Gore did win the popular vote in the year 2000. We're going to go on to the next question, question number 3. NAFTA joined Canada, Mexico, and the United States in a free trade zone. Why was this beneficial? Why was it beneficial for these three countries to join together? Jobs were lost to Mexico, exports to Canada and Mexico increased, unemployment in the U.S. rose, or provided free goods to Canada and Mexico. I knew I was running out of time. Exports to Canada and Mexico increased. Okay, so exports, goods that were made inside the United States and shipped outside of our borders to Canada and Mexico increased. That is a benefit of trade. Question number 4. This law allowed United States law enforcement to monitor phone calls without a warrant. The Patriot Act, International Blends, the Do Not Disturb Act, or America First? And the correct answer is the Patriot Act, or the USA Patriot Act. Post 9/11, that we wanted to monitor, especially outgoing phone calls from the United States to countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, ones that had ties to Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda. That allowed the United States law enforcement agencies to monitor those phone calls without receiving a warrant from a judge. Question number 5. The contract with America was proposed by whom? Al Gore, President Clinton, Newt Gingrich, or Hillary Clinton? Who proposed the contract with America? And that's correct. It would be Republican Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. That was kind of the opposition party to Bill Clinton in the early 90s. Newt Gingrich proposed the contract with America. Question number 6. In 2001, George W. Bush withdrew the United States from what agreement regarding global warming? Underground Railroad, the Tokyo Agreement, NAFTA, or the Kyoto Protocol? And the correct answer would be Kyoto, a city in Japan. The Kyoto Protocol talked about reducing global emissions to lower global warming across the planet. Question number 7. The European Union's common currency is called what? The gyro, the euro, the franc, or Bitcoin? And the European Union, the common currency that they use is called the euro. The euro is money that can be used in all European Union member states. Question number 8. Bill Clinton was impeached because he committed perjury, overtaxation, ethnic cleansing, or robbery. And the correct answer is perjury. Perjury is lying under oath. What he was accused of lying about would be the extramarital affair with Monica Lewinsky. All right, question number 9. Which of the following is not an example of digital technology? Cellular phones, newspapers, satellite radio, or MP3 players? Which of those is not digital technology? And if you selected newspapers, you would be correct. All right, question number 10. We're halfway there. Intel revolutionized computers by combining several integrated circuits on a single chip called what? Mini computers, microprocessors, microcomputers, or nanocomputers? And the correct answer would be microprocessors. Intel made technology cheaper, smaller, and faster through microprocessors. Question number 11. In the fall of 2001, bioterrorists attacked news organizations and political figures with what? Arsenic, anthrax, smallpox, or radioactive material? And the correct answer is anthrax. Anthrax is that biological nerve agent. It's small, it's a white powder. It was sent to places like news organizations, 30 Rockefeller Center, the home of NBC News. It was sent to Senate member Tom Daschle's office. People did die from anthrax exposure. However, it really put a fear in those weeks post 9/11 into just opening the mail. So we started to see different protocols put into place with news organizations and elected officials as how their mail was handled. Number 12, Osama bin Laden heads the terrorist group known as Hamas, Guerrillas, Al Qaeda, or Al Jazeera. Which of those four does Osama bin Laden once head? And the correct answer is Al Qaeda. Question 13. In the election of 2000, George W. Bush won the popular vote, California and New York, fewer states than Al Gore, or a majority of electoral votes? Which of those did George W. Bush win? And the correct answer is a majority of the electoral votes. Question 14. Since World War II, both Republicans and Democrats have both worked to lower barriers to international trade because it moves manufacturing jobs overseas, it helps the American economy, it helps economically depressed countries, or it supports foreign policy. Which of those is why we have moved to lower trade barriers between international or between other countries? Timed out. Oh no. Yes, it helps the American economy. Okay, there's a phrase that trade benefits everyone. We talk about globalization and internet, international corporations. The fact that it lowers trade barriers because it helps the American economy. To say that it supports foreign policy um, is a way to look at it. However, you could also the argument can be made that the United States coming in and paying people, not an equitable wage may make them feel inferior, or they may exploit some different working conditions, especially places in Southeast Asia, in places in the world where living standards are not equitable to the United States. There could be a negative argument to foreign policy to be made there. That's why helping the American economy is the best answer. Question number 15. He ran for the Green Party in the presidential election of 2000. Al Gore, Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, or Ralph Nader?
Yep.
And the correct answer is Ralph Nader. And just funny enough that his name appeared in green. Dick Cheney was George W. Bush's running mate and vice president for 8 years. Question 16. The presence of increased levels of chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, concerns scientists because they can enter the water supply, they can make air hard to breathe, they have the ability to break down ozone, they cause global warming. The presence, increased level of chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs.
Okay, there we go.
The correct answer is they have the ability to break down the ozone. So the ozone layer, chlorofluorocarbons, generally you would see them in things like air conditioners or aerosol cans. You guys have never had an aerosol can that has chlorofluorocarbons in them. Very, very few products anymore. But if you talk to your parents, if mom or dad were alive in the 80s and they were making their hair nice and tall and big for those pictures, they might have been using something called Aquanet, which was a hairspray. It's a propellant that was used in canned aerosol cans, hairspray, cooking sprays, anything that would come out of a can. The propellant that would be used in there was something called chlorofluorocarbons, and that could have been, it's been shown to break down the ozone layer. Question 17. The process of the world becoming increasingly interconnected is called nationalism, Americanism, globalization, or internationalism. Which of those four is the process by which the world becomes increasingly interconnected? Is globalization. Question 18. In 1990, researchers at CERN developed a new way to present information known as the World Wide Web, the Ethernet, the computer, or the internet. Yeah, and I knew we would both pick the wrong answer. So this one's a tricky one. When you look at CERN, the internet was the thing that like kind of connected computers at universities and at the government. The World Wide Web is a branch off of the internet. So the WWW. Yeah, I knew we'd both get that one.
Curses.
Question 19. Democrats passed a law during Clinton's administration that tightened gun control called the Brady Bill, the gun law, anti-gun law, or the Brady Bunch? And the answer is the Brady Bill. Okay, Brady was one of Ronald Reagan's or not cabinet members Reagan's staff that was shot in an assassination attempt, and he pushed through the mandatory waiting period on handgun purchases and background checks, and that was something through the Brady Bill. And question 20. The government began to deregulate the telecommunications industries in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s.
I forgot this one. Uh-oh.
And that goes back to the 1970s. Again, that's a tricky question when you start to look at allowing telecommunications industries to start to look at cellular devices and cellular towers. So that a lot of that deregulation started in the 1970s. There you go, Owen. Nicely done. So as I'm looking here, guys, just again, a reminder, you can use this, have this up with you tomorrow. The 20 multiple choice questions are going to look very, very similar to the questions that we just went over here on the Kahoot. Again, Unit 5, summative assessment. You can take it as many times as you'd like, and that'll put an end to Unit 5, the 1990s to today. So U.S. history, please take care of that. Look for communication from me on Monday, and then Tuesday, we'll check in together Tuesday, kind of introduce the final project together and kind of go from there. I would ask that today, guys, it's a beautiful day outside. I was outside a lot yesterday, like to be outside today. There's something to be said about the benefits of good old vitamin D and some natural sunlight and being outside and getting some fresh air. It's really helped me. I hope it helps you. On that note, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, have a great day.